So there is a question here which could be asked. Did she dance before a group of onlookers, these onlooking women, or did she dance privately for her husband? And most likely what we're getting out of this is that she was dancing before this group of women. So it wasn't something in the bedroom or something private. There's some reason to believe that this was a dance before a group of onlookers, such as or including these daughters of Jerusalem, as is brought out here. The first description of beauty that we see in the book of Song of Solomon. And so guys back there, if you are trying to get this up on YouTube, don't, because it'll mutter up the one that's already up there.
Your audio was not running, we just got your audio up.
I got it up here. I've got it up here. So we're already live.
So she said she can't hear it though. She couldn't hear it.
We did not hear your audio until just now.
Gotcha.
Like something back here.
Through this. Through this or through that?
We're talking, but nothing sound-wise was coming through on YouTube until now.
Interesting. Okay, well, let's just go on. Sorry for the technical issues. I don't know. Okay, so the first mention of this woman's body would have been found in chapter 4, verses 1 through 5. And it is in the context of the wedding night. So now, as we look back in chapter 4, this most likely was that wedding night when... I don't know, that was me. When the body was described, her body was described. Watch and see where that's coming from. The man he praised in chapter 4, he praised the beauty of the woman before she yielded her virginity to him. So that was the first description of her body in the intimacy of their bedroom. He was praising her, and he was describing her, okay? They were intimate, okay? I don't know how else to say it. The second description of beauty of this woman is in chapter 6, in the first half of the chapter, and it is the context of restoring a relationship after a conflict. We saw that, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, I think. They had this problem, they had this issue. She wouldn't open up the door, remember? She kept the door locked. And but in verses 4 through 9, the man assured this woman, his wife, that she was just as beautiful to him then as she was on their wedding night. Okay, so it's not a description of going through, her body, but it's a description of you look as good as you did the day we got married. And that's a good thing, fellas, okay? As we get into our years of marriage, please, and I'm going to give you a side note. People don't like change. Well, I'm sorry. Change happens every single day. So get used to it. I wish I looked like I did when I was 24 years old when I married Brenda, I don't. I got this big thing hanging out here, We don't look the same. I mean, the hair, a lot of the hair is gone, and it's silver, it's chrome, right, or whatever. It just don't look the same, and the wrinkles are coming in and things like that. But don't expect it to be the same. Love your mate where you are at, okay? And I love this imagery where you see an elderly couple and they've gotten to the point where they're far past how each other's look. I mean, but in their eyes, when they see their mate, when they look upon their 70-year-old, 80-year-old mate, they can see beauty, and see a beauty that's not always facial. It's not always it's not just, the looks. It's a beauty of relationship. It's a beauty of being there with each other, and respecting and loving and you look for the good. As I always say, accentuate the positive. Look for the good things in your marriage. So this second description is after they had this argument, and he's assuring her, hey, it's all right. You're just as beautiful as the day we got married. Maybe we're now a couple months, maybe even a year or two into the marriage, and so forth. Now, we're looking at today in chapter 7, the third description of beauty, and is probably a public description. As I said, she's dancing in the public place. A further assurance of the maiden's beauty, okay? So, how beautiful are your feet in sandals, the New King James says. I think that's in verse 1. The maiden danced, the woman danced, and the onlookers naturally first noticed her feet in her sandals. Feet are moving, okay? They admired both the beauty of her feet and her sandals, according to the New King James. Then it goes on and it talks about the curves of your thighs. And it talks about her navel and her waist. Okay, the description visually moves from the feet up the body, and it describes how beautiful she is in this dance. The New King James talks about the belly. Okay, here in the NLT it says the navel, but it's talking about the belly. The NLT uses more descriptive verbiage. But let's just stick with the belly because it's talking about the navel and between the thighs. This is, these lilies and that. This isn't don't take it further than what it's saying, okay? We could get real suggestive. We could get real descriptive and thinking it's something it's not. It's just looking at the woman in this probably beautiful dress, and they're seeing her. It says it's set about with lilies, okay? Some believe that this is a poetic reference to the female genitalia. It's not. Okay, I don't know that was me.
It is you, but you're the only thing on you.
Okay. Not sure what's up. It's not what you think, so don't take it there. Don't take it that this is describing her body in the raw, okay? It's not. This is absolutely not likely, especially given the use of the lilies, and we'll get into that in a minute. Plus, this is a public dance. She's not going to be out there. I don't know what's exactly happening, but she's not going to be out there dancing if she's in the raw, okay? Just so you know. We're going to do batteries? Okay. It talks about the lilies in verse, I think, 4. Well, actually, it talked about the lilies when it described her body in chapter 4, verse 5, in chapter 5, verse 13, and so forth. And so we'll get into those lilies in just a minute. But then it talks about her breasts are like two fawns, okay? This is repeated from the first description of this woman in chapter 4, but it is describing an innocent and delicate image, as innocent and delicate as young newly born deer or fawns. I don't have to go into a lot of detail here, okay? But when you see a fawn, it is it looks very tender. It looks very innocent and delicate, okay? And that's most likely what's being described, although it's not speaking of the flesh, okay? Now, let's go on to verse 2. The second portion, verse 4. Here we're going to see the description of the maiden's head. her face, and then her hair, okay? It says in verse 4, your neck is as beautiful as an ivory tower. Sounds real romantic, right? Sounds, boy, she's beautiful as a tower. Your eyes are like the sparkling pools of Heshbon by the gate of Beth Rabin. Your nose is as fine as the tower of Lebanon overlooking Damascus. Wow, she had quite a nose, didn't she? No, she didn't. Okay. Your head is as majestic, verse 5, as Mount Carmel, and the sheen of your hair radiates royalty. The king is held captive by its tresses. Okay, let's start with the neck. It says that her neck is like an ivory tower. The idea here is of nobility. She held her head high. It's an idea here of strength of character. Okay, she wasn't, crumpled over. She held her head high. She was a noble woman. It says your eyes are like pools of Heshbon. Here, the depth and the beauty of this woman's eyes are described as being deep. Heshbon would have been deep, a deep pool. And probably, her eyes were possibly blue like the color of the water. We don't know for sure, but he's describing, your eyes look like pools as I look into them. This guy's, the description is very, it's very descriptive. How else do you say it? Your nose is like a tower of Lebanon, which looks towards Damascus. Now, what is that talking about? She got a big nose? It appears that the Tower of Lebanon was not a literal tower. So when he uses this verbiage, that your nose is like the Tower of Lebanon, there was this outlook on a hill or a mountain, which the white cliffs looked out towards Damascus. So there was no tower. It just was the cliffs of Lebanon, this cliffed area, which looked towards Damascus. So how can that be? If you try to get into the mind of the description here, maybe you see people of Jewish descent, they have a very long nose. And maybe the cliff he was imagining. But there's more to this, and I really like this. What is being said here is the Tower of Lebanon. So let's just look at it. It's a cliff of Lebanon that overlooks Damascus, which if you know your geography, you'll know that, let me think how this goes. So east, we would look at east. I'm just trying to get my layout here. So this would have been the Mediterranean Sea, and then up above Jerusalem we have Lebanon, but then over to the east of Lebanon, so that would have been west. Over to the east of Lebanon, we have the area of Syria, which Damascus is in that. Okay, so this reference, when he's referencing Lebanon, check this out, because this is cool. It appears that it wasn't a tower at all, and this reference more is of the color of the maiden's nose than the size or the shape. And you say, well, now how can that be? Glad you asked. Lebanon derives, the word Lebanon in the Hebrew derives from the Hebrew root Laban or Laban, which means to be white. So now as he's looking at this, this description of this maiden, they're seeing her fully clothed, but they're seeing her nose, and her nose is white. White nose. Because it was looked down upon to be dark and tanned and wrinkled skin and that kind of thing, working out in the field. The gals would be kept inside where they wouldn't get sunburn. And so her nose is white. I mean, How crazy. I mean, it makes a whole lot of sense when you know the original language. Your head crowns you. A king is held captive by your tresses. The beauty of her hair is so striking that it can only be related to royalty. It's like purple. Could you imagine that how the black hair, most Jews have very dark hair, a very dark brown or black hair, okay? And to see it with its oils, with the oils that the gals might have put in their hair and so forth, there would have been this sheen, I'm sure he's probably looking at. And it would almost have glimmered like there was a purple sheen to it. And he talks about royalty. He talks about this will be what captives royalty. Kings are held captive. He was a king. He's held captive by her hair, by the beauty of her hair. Now let's go on in verse 6 through 9, because we're going to see a description of the beloved's desire, okay, the man's desire. He says in verse 6, "Oh, how beautiful you are! How pleasing, my love! How full of delights!" Verse 7, you are slender like a palm tree. Boy, she was really skinny, right? And your breasts are like the clusters of fruit, like its clusters of fruit. Verse 8, I said, I will climb the palm tree and take hold of its fruit. May your breasts be like grape clusters, and the fragrance of your breath like apples. And then finally in verse 9, may your kisses be exciting as the best wine. You know, as I said earlier, this all sounds like very seductive, or, you know, very language that's, you know, I mean, it should be kept to the bedroom. Like I had someone tell me, you know, boy, I'm a little uncomfortable, you know, with all this description. And I thought, you know, you're uncomfortable. You should be the guy that has to deliver it. But how fair and how pleasant you are, O love, he says. Here it seems that now the beloved speaks to his wife. So it's after the description, after the dancing, after the gals were looking at her beauty and all this in that description. Now he's looking at her, and he speaks to his wife more directly about his attention to her and his desire for her. This, he talks about her, what is the words here? You are slender like a palm tree, okay? Here he speaks of her as being tall. Palm trees are tall. About her being noble, like a great palm. I was just looking at a picture where there are palm trees. I believe it was in Florida, but you know, certain areas, especially around the coast, there's not a lot of trees. Some areas there are, but a lot of areas there's only just these big palms, and they tower. They're so tall, and it's like, wow, you know, it's majestic even. Okay, I think I might have found it. Maybe it's back there. It's part of my head's not connected. I don't know what. All right. So these palm trees, he's looking and seeing her stature. It's another reference to more than her beauty, but her character, how she stands, how she carries herself. Then the sense we have from all of this is that the couple has grown and has matured in their sharing of love, both sexually and otherwise, okay? So now, I mean, he's admiring her, not her beauty in the bedroom, in the privacy. He's admiring her just out wherever, fully clothed. Hey, you're beautiful, babe. You're really good looking. And I still admire you. I still desire you. There's a different mood from the delicate formalities that we saw on the wedding night to now this description. He's still saying, you're all it, you're great. But it's just different, okay? It's different. It's a beauty that can be recognized no matter where, no matter how old, no matter what, okay? Let's keep going. In verse 9, I'm going to reiterate in verse 9, but we're going to see the maiden longs for intimacy with her beloved, with her husband. He's describing her, and I got to just say this quickly, okay? Gosh, I feel so much that I go way too far. To see his wife dance, just like these women saw her dance, maybe he came up upon it, and to see her dance, that sparked something in him, okay? And, he's getting turned on, and then here we saw in the last couple verses how he's saying, wow, babe, you are, you do it for me. And when he praises her this way, now in verse 9 and 10, we see her longing to be intimate with him. Why? Because he's praising her. So just because the dance and they're getting charged up, okay? That's all I can say. Let me reread verse 9. May your kisses be as exciting as the best wine. Yes. So first of all, we have the description as wine, and then yes, wine that goes down smoothly for my lover, flowing gently over lips and teeth. And I am my lover, and he claims me as his own. Some of the other versions say, I am my lover, and he is I am his, okay? I am his. Now, we'll talk about that in a minute, but let's talk about this wine. You've heard it said many times, I'm sure, how certain drink, especially like here it's being said, the best of wines is said to go down smooth, okay? So, here we have that reference, wine that goes down smoothly for my lover. Now, as we go back, we could go back here probably a good month and a half or more to chapter 2 when we studied chapter 2 of Song of Solomon. There's something that was said and it was repeated later, but a little different, and now it's being repeated a third time in chapter 10. Let me give this to you. In chapter 2, she said, my beloved is mine. Did you catch that? My beloved is mine. He's all mine. In chapter 6, she says, I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. So she's changing it a bit. She's saying, I am his, and he is mine. But now in chapter 7, she says, I am my beloved's. I am his. And you might say, well, now, sounds all the same kind of to me. What's the difference? It's as if to say, as if she is saying this. I'm not trying to claim him any longer. It's not just he is mine, okay? I'm not trying to manipulate him into what I think he should be. I'm not trying to change him. I'm not trying to make him into the perfect man that I think he should be. I'm not trying to make this marriage strictly about my emotional wants and what I need. She says, I am his. Now, ladies, I want to say this, and I want to say it delicately, but you were created to be his helper, okay? And again, I want to say this gently. It's not the other way around, okay? The man wasn't created for you gals. Earlier, the bride said, my beloved is mine, but now she's saying, I am his. No matter what he wants, okay, I am his. And that's not just physical, okay? Whatever I can do to better him and the relationship, that is my goal. It's not about me. It's not about how I'm feeling or, I'm upset today, so everybody's going to know it, especially him. I'm not, it's not about you gals. And you might say, well, wait a minute. That's not very fair, because isn't marriage supposed to be 100-100? Absolutely. And so the guys have a responsibility too. We're not taking anything away from what the guys need to do. But gals, understand that the more you pour into him and his life, the more you build him up, the more blessed your marriage is going to be, and the better you are going to feel about your relationship with him. I hear sometimes, oh my goodness, it happened just yesterday. I brought it out to Brenda. And I'm like, my goodness, I just heard this gal ripping on her husband. And I thought, boy, that poor old guy, I mean, whatever, but she couldn't say a kind word about him. And I thought, oof, does she realize how that's going to affect the relationship? But guys, you need to do your part too. You need to bless your wife. You need to praise her and build her up. So just that's all I'm going to leave you with. Gals, you were designed to be his helper, not the other way around. Okay, now let's keep going. Verse 13, we're going to see the invitation to intimacy. So as this all is building, and remember, this is far down in their years of marriage. This isn't, this isn't the wedding night. It isn't a month later. It's probably not even a year later. This is a few years later. Now we see this. It says in verse 11, "Come, my love, let us go out to the fields and spend the night among the wildflowers. Let us get up early and go to the vineyards to see if the grapevines have budded, if the blossoms have opened, and if the pomegranates have bloomed. There I will give you my love." Okay, again, real flowery words, flowery speech here. Verse 13, let me just read that as well, and then we'll close out. "There the mandrakes give off their fragrance, and the finest fruits are at our door, new delights as well as old, which I have saved for you, my lover." Okay, we're talking about not young any longer, okay? New delights, but also old, okay? The bodies get old, right? But here's what we see here through these 3 verses. She invited him to come away on a trip to the countryside where they could enjoy their marriage. Yes, it speaks about going out to the fields, spending a night. Does that mean they did it under the stars? No, it doesn't mean that. It just they went away, out somewhere out there, okay? She invites him to the countryside where they could enjoy some time away. It was like a weekend getaway for a couple deeply in love. Vacations, getaways are so important. And equally short little getaways or get-alones, which maybe are done in the home, get-alone times are important in marriage. My wife and I, and probably maybe this is my fault, I don't know, but I think she's a little bit like this as well. We tend to be workers, workaholics, okay? We tend to always be busy. Brenda, she can tend to be, she's always got to be doing something and creating. My goodness, the things that that woman creates. I mean, recipes. She makes her own bread. She grinds her own grain. She makes her own soap. makes her own toothpaste. I mean, on and on and on. And you say, wow. I mean, it's crazy when I look at it. And she makes her own clothes. It's just crazy, the things that my wife does. She's always busy, always busy. She's got a layout room where she lays out her patterns for her clothes she's making and things like that. She's got like, I don't know how many sewing machines she's got, like 3 or 4 of them. One does this, one does that, one does this, one's an edger, or I don't know what they call it. It does a certain thing, but the other one doesn't do that. So you got to have all these machines. And for a while she had an embroider machine and a business that she ran. My goodness, just all the things. And that's not counting the garden that she takes care of and she plants. And February comes around, we got to get the plants in the little trays and stuff, all that. And so she's working on that and having me help her do that. And she's busy. She's very busy. And we have tended, even in our Christian walk, to forget about vacations. And over the years, boy, we hardly took a vacation, except there was one time we took a vacation to Israel, which that was like going to Bible school because you learn so much when you go to Israel. But it was a vacation, so that was once in like 7 years. And then we took another vacation, and then that was like another few years. So I mean, in 10 or 14 years, we hardly ever took a vacation. Our vacations would have revolved around going to a Christian pastoral conference or a pastor and wife conference and hanging out with other pastors and wives. That would have been a vacation for us. And we had to come to the realization, as great as those things are, where's our time together, our alone time, just her and I? And we're coming to a point in our life where we're really re-looking at that and saying, boy, we have some catch-up to do here. We really do. And we're starting to take advantage of that. So what we're seeing here, these getaways, don't neglect them in the marriages. The vacations, the weekends away, the times maybe just even at home where it's just the two of you and you're enjoying relationship. Earlier, the man made a similar invitation to her, but now, I think it was, he said this, he said, "Rise up, my love, my fair one, and come away." That was way back in chapter 2. In verse 12 of chapter 7, now the woman answers with a similar invitation. Interesting. She seems to be more confident now since the early days of their courtship that we saw in verse 1. She also understood that it was not only the responsibility of the man to signal the desire for romance and intimacy. Now she could be secure in herself and say, "Hey, I desire you, I desire you, my beloved." You ain't going to say that, I'm sure, but you have your verbiage. And she was now more comfortable. She was more mature in the relationship, secure. Okay? In all of this, we see a remarkable freedom and a joy in their love. Intimacy was not understood to be the husband's pleasure and the wife's duty. We can hear about that a lot today. No, there is a spirit throughout the whole book of Song of Solomon that shows how good marital love can be for both partners. And please let me address this. I'm not just talking physical love, okay? I'm talking when both are in love and they love 100% with their whole hearts. You're not looking upon how you feel. You're looking about how can I make my love, my beloved or my lover feel? What can I do for them? What is there, and here's a good one. We hear a lot about this. What is my spouse's love language? What's your spouse's love language? What turns them on? What makes them happy? What speaks to them? What is there? 4 of them, I think they've come up with 5. Okay, anybody know what they are?
Words of affirmation.
Words of acclamation, that's mine. Just affirmation, that's mine. Just so you know. You want to bless me? Touch. So affirmation, touch, I'm sorry? Say it louder.
Acts of service.
Acts of service. I think no, that's not Brenda's. That's part of one of Brenda's, but touches her. She likes to be tickled and rubbed. And I need to step up in that area. And she likes acts of service. Yeah, when she asks me to do something, boy, I better be up before she gets the last word out of her mouth. No, not really, but she likes that. She likes that. She wants to know. That speaks to her. What else is there? Quality time and gifts. Yeah. Good. I'm glad you guys know this. I just know the ones I got to focus on. Yeah. But quality time. A lot of gals, they want spend time with your gal, and if that's her love language, you really got to spend time. You should be spending time together a lot anyways. But if that's your wife's love language, boy, oh boy, just really accentuate on that. And the final one, gifts. Some gals, they like the rings. They like the special, the flowers. Brenda told me one time, don't ever bring flowers home. She says, if you want to bring something home, bring chocolates and strawberries. No, she didn't say that. I did do that one time. I brought strawberries, took strawberries and chocolate. I took it down to the mill. She was working. I was off, and I was so proud of myself. Strawberries dipped in chocolate. And she came out. We called, and she came out on her break outside, and here we're sitting eating strawberries and chocolate, dipped in chocolate. And but gifts could be a lot of different things. It could be, it could be flowers. It could be little things like that. It could be whatever. Be creative. Be very creative. You could go out on the internet and you could say, what are things that I could do to bless my wife? What are things I could do to bless my husband? And I'll tell you what, you're going to find entry after entry after entry. 25 things that a husband can do. 10 things that a wife can do. 100 things. It's going to go on and on and on. And it's going to give you. There's books out there, and there's pages out there that you can download this stuff even. I've done it. I've got a thing on my computer. I'm giving myself away here. Little words I can say, little things I can do, little gifts I can give, little things, and I go to this on occasion. And then my wife hears me talking stupid, right? Like, oh my love, you are so beautiful, like the towers of Lebanon. No, I don't say that kind of stuff. But I'll bless her, and I'll say, oh, sweetie, you look great. Yeah, whatever. No, you look great, sweetie. I love how you look. I love how you look. I love what you do. Anyways, let's get on. So we're seeing this responsibility is shared. It's not just always the husband's responsibility to initiate, even to the physical. The wife can do that as well. So in all of this, there is a freedom and a joy in their love. Freedom. Intimacy was not understood to be the husband's pleasure, as I said, and the wife's duty. The book talks about them both. They're equal partners, enjoying each other and being enjoyed by each other. Song of Solomon also teaches this freedom, a true freedom that doesn't come by someone being unconnected from marriage. Oh, I'll be free one day that I'm rid of her, or one day when I'm rid of him. I'll be free finally. The truth is that genuine freedom comes in marriage. It's just the opposite. Marriage is a secure hedge that protects love as it grows. Let me say that again. Marriage is a secure hedge that protects love as it grows. As love is nurtured, it produces freedom and fulfillment. All right. One final thing, it talks about these mandrakes. Now, what is a mandrake? Well, it's some kind of fruit. A mandrake is also called in some versions of the Bible a love apple. A love apple. So maybe about the size of an apple, we don't know, but mandrakes were understood in that time to be what's called an aphrodisiac in the ancient world, okay? Especially in the sense of increasing fertility. So it's not like, wow, be careful of those mandrakes. If you eat them, ooh, off we go, right? No, it wasn't like that. But there was a sense, you'll remember back with, wasn't it Jacob's? Rachel and Leah. There was this issue, and they talked about the mandrakes. And I'll give you my mandrakes, or whatever it said. Basically meaning there was something with this, with the husband, and when they ate the mandrake, it would allow the gal to be more fertile, okay? And I'll tell you what, it's not that these two lovers, this man and his wife, that they needed any additional stimulation. You can see by the text, it's very stimulated. But likely this shows that the wife, years after their marriage night, she's still desiring him, he's still desiring her, and now she wants children. The mandrake. She wants children. I don't know, and I got to close on this. I don't know how many couples, they're so enamored with each other, they get married, and all of a sudden, whoa, guess what? We got one on the way. And, she comes to him a few months after they're married, all beaming, and she might have some verbiage that she says, well, it's time, or I'm expecting, or something, And, a lot of times it can take the guy by surprise, and, he don't know what to think. Oh, my goodness, I'm going to be a dad? And it can happen very quickly. So young couples, maybe stay away from the mandrakes for a while. No, I'm kidding. You don't have to do that. But the sense here is that what I'm trying to get at is a lot of times kids come unexpectedly. They come quickly. And it's not that it's not a good thing. It is a good thing, okay? It's not that it's bad. But it comes before you really expect it. Oh my goodness, I didn't know, I should have known, but wow, we're pregnant already, and now kids, and then a second kid, and a third kid, and whatever. That's not bad. It's not bad. But what I'm trying to get at is sometimes kids aren't planned. And maybe there isn't this time to work on some of the relational things that could have been worked on in a young marriage that might help through the kids' years and into the empty nester years, things that you could have established back then, things that you could have stood on, things you could have put into your marriage. Either way, but now you've got the kids to worry, to take care of. So kids are great, okay? The mandrakes show her desire. Now it's time. We've worked on our relationship, we've worked on our love, we've worked on our getting along, we've worked on all this. We have intimacy. Now she wants kids, and it's brought out by that word mandrakes. All right, Father, thank you for your word, and Lord, it's interesting. I'm almost to the point, Lord, where it'll be good when we get done with this, and with this book, this Song of Solomon, and we will see, if we're not already, seeing the effects of Song of Solomon in marriages, where we will see the effects in marriages and how marriages have been changed, how they've been enhanced. So Lord, I pray that this book would speak to every married couple. I pray that this book would prepare every unmarried single who is looking at relationship in the future, that they would be able to glean from it. I also pray that there would be things in this that those who aren't married, and even those who are, can glean in relationship building outside of marriage, just relationship building with other people.